Hello traders, Cousin Vinny coming to you from theclosingprint.com on June 28th, 2015, Sunday, with a look at the week ahead. In this video, we'll cover the items in this list rather than spending a lot of time talking about it. You can pause this and just look through. I've done this for my record so that I can go back and check what the various indicators we follow are doing, we're doing, what the indices were looking like, commodities, etc. Okay, do note I have a new channel on ticker.tv, and what I might start doing is email requests. I haven't thought about this a lot, but you need to sign up for the channel. Just go to ticker.tv and subscribe. We will look at the indices now, so let's take a look at those. The NASDAQ is currently sitting right on top of its 50-period moving average and this volume by price bar. We'll keep an eye on this index this week. We had a very big distribution bar volume-wise on Friday, and slow stow indicates that it could continue to move lower. MACD gave a cross as well. So we could very well come down to the 65-period moving average, the brown line, or the lower Bollinger Band. The industrials, note that we are below the volume by price support resistance level. This could further deter higher prices. We're below the 50-period moving average, and we have the 130-period moving average down below. Volume looked pretty good on Friday. Slow stow is oversold in the green zone and could turn. Watch MACD. The Dow Jones Composite, however, doesn't look as good. Note the moving averages are rolling over. The 50 is crossing the 130-period moving average. This is comprised of 65 stocks in the transports, utilities, and the industrials. Volume was positive on Friday. However, we do see an inside day. Slow stow is oversold and MACD is below its signal line. Significant in that we closed off the high of the day. Bulls did not maintain control. The New York Stock Exchange Composite, 2,000 stocks, more significant in its breadth. Note that price is below the 10-period EMA, and the 50-period moving average closed right on the 20-period, the midline of the Bollinger Bands. Obviously, Bollinger Bands are narrowing, and we have this volume by price congestion over here on the left. Slow stow is oversold, and MACD is above its signal line. Keep an eye on the composite, obviously, because it's more stocks to consider. Continuing in that vein, we're looking at the Wilshire 5000 composite, where prices are relative to the 10-period EMA and the 50-period. We have a long-legged doji and 3 red candles from midweek after we put in that doji on Tuesday. Note the pattern, note the distribution, and slow stow is in the oversold territory. MACD is below its signal line. So I'll be following these indices that have more stocks in their holdings for consideration where we might be headed in the weeks and months ahead. Here's the S&P 500. Note we're inside of this volume by price bar. Prices are below the 10-period and the 50 as well. Long-legged doji looks very similar to the Wilshire and the New York Composite. Slow stow in the green zone, and MACD looks like it wants to cross below 0. So keep an eye on momentum as well as slow stow. Note the volume, 2 distribution days in the past 2 weeks. And the XII, this is the ARCA Institutional Index. It's comprised of 75 stocks that most institutions have as their core holdings in their portfolios. Note we have the Elder Impulse system enabled here. We have 2 red bars following the 2 green bars on Monday, Tuesday. Note Stoch RSI, MACD, and Slow Stow is headed lower. These are the stocks that are in the list. You can pause this and take a look at them. But we do watch the ARC Institutional Index at inflection points to see what institutions are thinking. Most importantly for us, we like to follow the S&P 1500 composite. Note the thumbnail here, we have two down bars like we saw on the previous chart. Slow Stow is heading lower after being overbought and has some distance before it gets to the green zone. Note MACD, we got a cross, and where prices are presently below the 50 period and the 10 period EMA. The 100 period is just below. See, we tested that on Friday very nearly. So keep an eye on the S&P 1500 composite. This is comprised of the S&P 500, the S&P Mid Cap 400, and the S&P 600 small caps. European indexes to note, the DAX had a nice run from the 83.54 level back in October. We drew in some Fibonacci levels. You can see what we're thinking here. From that level back in October up to the recent highs, we have a nice descending channel that we're testing presently. Prices above the 10 period EMA. Slow Stow has hit the red zone and MACD is above its signal line. So we could see Slow Stow continue to move sideways if we break out of this channel, having tested the 382 level very obviously and bouncing. We could still see further weakness, of course, if Greece continues to be an exogenous event, but this looks like it could break higher. In addition, we were watching the Shanghai index over the past couple of weeks. Note it's moving lower. It is presently off 23.52% from its recent highs. Note the similarity to the indices. I'm not prophesizing, but we had these two dojis, small candles. Then we had a couple of red days. We had a bounce. The 10 EMA rolled over. And then we had further downside. We lost the 50, and then now prices are moving lower. Things don't look so good for the Shanghai index. CPC, as we noted on our intro screen, is near a bounce zone. Note that when we get up to these higher levels above 1, that we typically see a bounce over the next couple of days. So keep an eye on that. We're at the 20 period moving average, so we could see some upside before we see further downside, if that is in the cards. Also noted on the intro card, tick cumulative on the NYSE composite gave us a bearish cross last week. We note the 3 red bars on Elder. NYMO continues to move lower, and we saw trend moving lower on Friday, which could indicate that we're seeing buying. We just want to keep an eye on our advancing declining stocks screen here, panel 6 and 7. Tick cumulative on the NASDAQ, as we mentioned in the intro screen, is flat. Had a nice little note where prices are, close right at the 20 period moving average on the comp. Also note where trend was, trend Q. A lot of selling going on Friday when this indicator gets into the red zone, like we saw back here in early January. VIX VXV is above 90%, and we could see a little bounce here over the next couple of days if Greece doesn't get in the way. Note up-down volume has started to balance out a little bit better. On Friday we saw about 1-to-1. Note that midweek we had a peak here right around 50% and then tapered off into Friday. So NYMO, though it is negative, could turn back up over the next couple of days if we do see a bounce this week. Currencies, presently the US dollar is in this triangle pattern. Note the 50 period moving average is just overhead. We have a 3-day flag moving sideways. Looks like bulls tried to push it over the 50 but closed right at the 50 period moving average. MACD's above its signal line. Slow stow has a little bit more juice to the upside, and the oscillator is somewhat bullish. Could continue. It is possible we could continue up to this trend line and get rejected, or we could just continue to move sideways. In any event, watch the US dollar, because if you're in equities or commodities, you want to see this move lower if you're bullish either of those. This is a chart of yen, which continues to move sideways along its moving average, this lower price action, and this of course is the US dollar, with the green background being the New York composite. Slow stow is turning up, and MACD is above its signal line, so we could see a move higher on yen and a move lower on the US dollar. Looking at a chart of copper, we had a little bounce off the lower Bollinger Band. We still have the 20 period overhead and the 50 period as well. Have this volume by price congestion. If you are bullish, the HomeBuilders, which we've been paying attention to lately, we'll cover that in a minute, as well as banks, you want to see the US dollar moving lower and interest rates continuing to move higher. Banks and insurance carriers typically do better in a rising interest rate environment, whereas REITs do not. So if you're thinking about some areas to invest this week, shorts could be in some of the REITs, and long trades on financials and the home builders. Taking a look at our light sweet crude oil chart, we note the double bottom, building a cup here and a handle. Prices are moving sideways in this little channel pattern and above the 50 period moving average. A little dragonfly doji on Friday after 2 bearish days on Wednesday and Thursday. So typically you want to trade the direction of the breakout. We're anticipating it'll be higher, so we'll be keeping an eye out for that over the weeks ahead. Shifting gears for a minute, let's take a look at bonds. J&K junk is looking mighty bearish lately as the risk-off trade unfolds. Note the volume on this chart. Slow stow is in the green zone. MACD is below its signal line. I wouldn't touch junk bonds currently because it looks like we have further downside. Note the reverse Kirby. If prices drop below this level, it could get ugly, and it could get ugly quickly. Extend this trend line out possibly, and we could see some targets here, previous lows, and then the trend line extended out as well. TLT, the 20-year, looking bearish as well, continues to move lower in this descending channel. Slow stow is oversold, but we won't be trading bonds anytime soon. As well as AGG, the aggregate bond fund. We got out of this back in late April when the moving averages turned over. If you follow our train of thought, this is a box trade setup where you have the 10 period EMA below the 30 period MA. We only trade short until that trend changes and moves to the upside. So any tests of the 30 period or this zone in here, we go short, and we just continue to stay short. So bonds currently, AGG in particular, are looking pretty bearish presently as yields move higher. HYG, corporate bond fund, also looking bearish. Note we have these lows that we look like we're getting ready to test. We're below this volume by price resistance level, and slow stow and MACD look somewhat bearish. Here is the new IBD50 list ranked by percent change as of Friday's close. We note gray television, which we talked about this weekend, looking pretty good. Bollinger Bands are fairly tight. Prices moving right along the 20 period and the 10 period EMA. Nice volume on Friday, slow stow moving higher, and MACD above its signal line. So this is a 10 E stow MACD setup on gray television. AMC Networks, we also mentioned the breakout and the possibilities for higher prices this week. We broke out on Friday, followed through on nice volume, slow stow moving higher, and MACD above its signal line. Another 10 E stow MACD setup. Ulta Salons, nice candle on Friday, nice sideways pattern for the most part of 3 months. If we get above this volume by price bar, there's no overhead supply, so just keep an eye on that. Stock has come quite a long way. Just make a note of the fact that we are continuing to see bullish price action despite what's happening on the indices. Monster Beverages, MNST, we pointed out the flag last week right at the 50 period moving average, and then we had a nice break higher with Bollinger Bands tight and expanding. We have this volume by price bar to deal with now. Slow stow shows that we could see further upside, and MACD has positive or bullish momentum on nice volume. THRN, Gentherm, is in the auto parts industry group. Nice flag here. Looks like it's going to break higher. Slow stow is a little bit frothy here, and MACD is above its signal line. So we're watching volume. See if we have a spike here with prices above the volume by price levels. There's no overhead supply per se to deal with as prices continue to conceivably grind higher. If you watch the lower Bollinger Band, when it turns up and the upper Bollinger Band continues to move higher as well, that usually indicates that you're going to see quick price increases. Conversely, if you see Bollinger Bands tight and then expand both top and bottom, that means you're more than likely going to see a quick appreciation in prices. Something to keep in mind if you follow Bollinger Bands. TMH is new on the list. Healthcare providers did quite well over the last week. UNH, Aetna, Humana, and many others look pretty good. So we had a breakout on Thursday on the Obamacare ruling by the Supremes. So wait for prices to pull back or flag out here. Obviously you don't want to chase this, but look through the healthcare sector. There are some setups in that group as well. Universal Health Services, another healthcare provider. Pretty much all of the charts look the same way. We had a huge candle on Thursday and continuation follow through on Friday. On increased volume, we had a nice pocket pivot here. Pocket pivot is a green bar that precedes or exceeds the preceding 10 red days, which you can obviously see we haven't seen one of those since late March. Slow stow is pointing higher, and MACD obviously you see in bullish momentum. Western Alliance Bank Corp, WAL, has been on the list for a couple of months now and continues to move higher out of this breakout right here. Got above the volume by price resistance, and then we got into the Kirby, and you can see what happened when prices continue to move higher. You can also check out the Bollinger Band squeeze, as I mentioned previously. When top and bottom Bollinger Bands expand together, that usually means you're going to see quick appreciation in prices. Prices move sideways, bands will tighten obviously, and when the lower Bollinger Band turns up along with the upper Bollinger Band, that typically means you're going to see a grind higher in prices. Banks in general are looking better with higher yields for the near future, with higher yields in the forecast. Papa John's Pizza continues to move higher. Domino's also moved higher. Domino's looking pretty good as well. This is pointed out on Stock Twits on Friday. We had a little breakout here. Watch this level this week. Summertime trades. I made a post a few weeks back on a Saturday talking about how food, alcohol, and drug stocks typically do better than the remaining industry groups during the summertime versus the wintertime. These usually outperform. So keep an eye on these sectors going into the summer. Looking at the IBD50 in a candle glance format, it gives us a better look at what the stocks in general are doing. The 20 period moving average is the blue line, and the red line is the 50 period moving average. So just looking down through this list, we can see CBM is pulling back to the 20. We'll watch to see how that sets up for a 10E Stow MACD setup, with Stow getting near 20 and oversold. In the specialty chemicals group, and if prices get back above the 10 EMA, we could see further price appreciation. Ambarella looks pretty bearish to me as well. When we had these two down bars, we talked about the fact that we should wait 5 to 7 days. We came up and tested the 20 period and the descending 10 EMA on Friday. Slow Stow got oversold, but it looks like it might want to turn back down. MACD is still showing bearish momentum on the histogram. You want to see that change. Note the volume by price curve in here, where prices could drop down into this level and then move back down to the breakout level. That would be terrible, of course. And you have the 50 period moving average below as a first target if we see further weakness in Umbrella. AMC Networks looking pretty good, as we mentioned, another name that typically does well during the summertime as moviegoers check out what's offered. AFSI, Ameritrust Financial Services, note the volume bar that we saw on Friday. Very interesting. Slow Stow moving lower, MACD above its signal line, price above the 10 EMA. ANET, Arista Networks, had a nice run over the last couple of months. We saw some selling on Thursday and Friday. We held the 20 period moving average. Note the volume. Slow Stow getting near oversold. We'll watch MACD histogram for changes in momentum. Otherwise, this stock, just leave this one alone unless you want to attempt to short it if it retests the 10 period EMA and then turns back down. Avago looks like it's going to test the 50 period moving average in the short term. Note the pocket pivot red bar on Friday. Slow Stow and MACD look not that great. AVGO. Another bank on the IBD50 list that Mikey trades, Ozark, pulled back to the 10 period moving average. Nice little spinning top on Friday. Nice bullish bar on Thursday. But note the volume bar, and Slow Stow headed lower. These stocks should continue to look bullish for the most part after some consolidation perhaps, with higher yields in the future. Biogen holding the 10 period moving average. Slow Stow getting oversold, and MACD above its signal line. I'd give this a couple more days for Biogen to set up. Cirrus Logic, disappointing. We thought that it might hold the 50 period moving average. If you think it's short, this looks like it could play out. If it drops below this volume by price support resistance bar, this thing could get ugly in a hurry. Note the 130 period moving average is right here at 32. That could be the next level if we see further weakness in semiconductors. Gilead looks like we have a little bit of profit taking on Thursday and Friday. Spinning top on Friday, closed below the 10 period EMA. We could be testing the 20 period in the next few days. depending on Greece, I'm seeing news coming out that banks will probably be closed on Monday. Capital controls, so it's getting real in Greece very quickly. I would wait for the first half an hour to get an idea what the bias is going to be on the indices this week. HZNP, if you took this stock and you're still in it, and you haven't hit your stop, I would think about taking some profits. Note the volume on Friday, and slow stow is getting towards the oversold zone. MACD is dipping below its signal line. We could test the 50 period in the very near future. I'm not sure how it managed to stay where it did close on Friday considering the volume. HCMP. We had a nice little breakout of this pattern. Prices moved a couple of points higher, and we're completely out of the stock now. Manhattan Associates looking pretty decent. Flagging sideways above its 10 period moving average. 4 red days. Volume starting to pick up a little bit. Slow stow's moving lower. But in general, this one's holding up fairly well above this volume by price support level, considering the weakness in the indices. NSR, New Star, make a note of it. Relative strength. Bollinger Bands are tight above the 10 period EMA, and there's no overhead supply per se, so this one could continue to move higher. Note the pocket pivot on Friday, slow stow moving higher, MACD above its signal line on this 10 ESTO MACD setup. Outerwall, OUTR, we had a nice trade on this stock and this breakout of this little descending channel. Ran up from the 76 level up to 83.40. Got stopped out around 81 on the trailer on this stock. Continued to move lower, but now it's holding the 20 period moving average, which is very interesting considering where slow stow is, and MACD histogram didn't really get that negative from a momentum perspective, so this week we'll be watching this one as well with the ascending 50 period moving average. Pinnacle Entertainment in the gambling and casino sector industry group. Note the sideways pattern. We sent out a blog post on Saturday covering a few names in that group you might want to check out if you're considering some of these stocks going into the week. REGN, Regeneron, holding up fairly well above the 10 period EMA, slow stow oversold. It could turn, and MACD looks like it might want to move higher over the week ahead. MACD histogram is indicating that we could see a flattening of momentum. Just keep that in mind. AOS, Smith AO Corp. Slow stow is getting down to a 10 ESTO MACD setup. MACD is still below its signal line, so we watch this one over the next few days as prices continue to hold above the 10 period EMA and the 20 period moving average. Spirit Aerosystems showing some relative strength on Thursday, Friday. We had a little doji and then a nice little candle on Friday. Nice pocket pivot as well, and slow stow could turn. MACD is staying above its signal line. Taser continues to move sideways, holding above its 20 period moving average, closing right on top of it on Friday. The 10 period EMA is just overhead. Bollinger Bands are narrowing. We saw a little bit of an increase in volume, but not above average. Slow stow is oversold, could turn, and MACD histogram we'll have to keep an eye on for a change in this bearish momentum next week. This week. TSS looks pretty good. New on the list. Holding the 10 period EMA. Nice pocket pivot on Friday. Slow stow is trying to turn, and MACD remains above its signal line. Nice 10E stow MACD setup on Total System Services. TSCO is back on the list. Tractor Supply holding above the 10 period EMA. Thursday, Friday had a spending top on Friday. Note the volume. Slow stow could turn, and MACD is above its signal line. We're out of both CyberArk and BDSI. We only had a position in BDSI over the last several weeks. We got stopped out on Tuesday when this price action dropped below the Monday price action outside of the upper Bollinger Band. You can see if you use this methodology, as prices move higher, you stop on a low that takes out the previous trading day low, as we saw here on Tuesday. So let's take a look at some home builder stocks. Those had a interesting week. Builders and housing. BZH had a nice breakout above. We're now at 52-week highs. Wait for a flag now and pull back to the 10 EMA as another possibility. Note the volume and prices continue to move higher. DR Horton lagging somewhat, but could break out as well. This is probably a better setup. Watching slow stow if it turns this week. Home Depot moving sideways above the 10-period EMA. Slow stows headed lower. We'll watch that for a setup this week. Hovnavian descending channel pattern. 50-period moving average above. Remember, when the 10-period EMA is below the other moving averages, we don't look at longs, we look at shorts only. So until this breaks trend and the 10-period EMA gets back above the 50 and the 20, we are in a descending pattern and would trade accordingly. We would trade rejections at this upper trend line. IBP, this is a name off of the IBD50 list, off of the pages of IBD. This is in heavy construction. We'll watch this one. Saw a really huge down bar on Friday. Really huge volume day on Friday. KB Homes looking pretty good as well. Again, wait for a flag and the 10-period EMA catch up. Note the volume by price levels taper off up here, and slow stow is overbought. Lennar looking pretty good as well, just like KBH. We have yet to break out. 10-period EMA is signaling higher prices. Slow stow looks like it could embed nice volume, and MACD above its signal line. Pulte Home Group flagging out here. Got outside of the upper Bollinger Band. We had a nice candle on Friday. Looks like a dragonfly doji after a shooting star on Thursday. Could be setting up. Slow stow's moving lower. MACD above its signal line. Slow stow could turn this week. Alright, so watch this gap and the volume by price congestion on Pulte. Toll Brothers looking good as well. Nice long-legged doji on Friday. Prices moving sideways. Slow stow could reset. Watch the volume and MACD above its signal line on HomeBuilders. So this is ticker.tv. Note that you can check out the other channels that are presently broadcasting. Note the address, ticker.tv/cousin_Vinny. Note previous broadcasts are recorded down here. You can just click on those and review them. Okay, so this is Cousin Vinny coming to you from theclosingprint.com. For you new traders, be sure to check out these top 5 or 6 videos, which will give you a better edge on understanding the markets, taking setups, and where to position yourself for the highest risk reward on your trade. In addition, if you don't subscribe to the blog, this is a spam-free site. Enter your email address in here and you can get these delivered to your email every day. You'll note my tweets are here, the watch list for the week or the day. You can just scroll down through these, keeping track of the trades that we're looking at, whether they're high-type flags or Bollinger Band setups. It's also a place for me to document the trades and thoughts going into the weeks. So I hope this helps. Take care. We'll talk to you on the stream on Monday.